Hey, this is Michael Lindsay from Vital Mex. I am joined by the man himself, Davey Coombs. So, DC, it has been a very interesting start to the summer. It is, of course, the 50th anniversary of the AMA Pro Motocross Championship and has been extremely exciting on track. The racing's been great. The tracks have been great. But sadly, it's been exciting off track for you guys. And when I say exciting, just I think a lot going on. Before we get into really what's been going on with the streaming service and some of the stuff that we're here to address, I think there's still a lot of the fan and user base of the sport that don't fully understand the story of how we basically got to where we were at the beginning of this outdoor season with, the entire TV package with NBC and the network, NBC Sports going away, things like that. They don't understand why we switched app services. So the first thing I guess we'll start with is, can you give us the background on basically what happened with NBC Sports and Peacock, why we ended up at MAV, what was some of the details behind the scenes?
Sure. To the best of my knowledge, I guess you'd say. If you remember, NBC Sports Network was built in part because they had this giant property known as the Olympics. Plus, they had all this NASCAR stuff and everything. They were really hoping that they were going to have their own sports-only channel that would compete with like the ESPNs of the world, and everything was going along pretty well. NBC has been the commercial rights partner with MX Sports Pro Racing for the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross series since I think 2010. It started out with Ally when we got involved in 2009, and then it became, they sold to NBC, and we suddenly had a partner in NBC Sports as far as the commercial rights and television and all that. Well, in 2020, they had a big push. They were going to do a lot online with the Olympics, and then COVID happened. And these are the Olympics in China. It got pushed for a year. It became something of an unmitigated disaster. When they did finally have the Olympics a year later, it was in front of very few people. They found out that the interest had waned, and it was really a tough project for NBC. It was about that time that they decided to shutter NBC Sports Network, which had been our home for the second motos for the better part of the last half dozen years. Unfortunately, that move meant that they also, we had to go find a new linear TV network, but we also had to go find a new streaming network, because if you're not part of NBC, you don't just get to be on Peacock. In Peacock, we'd gotten used to after NBC Sports Gold, there was Peacock, and things were going well there, and people were getting used to how that service worked. But that was not an option because we didn't have a home anymore. Our partnership with NBC ended. They still wanted to do motocross, but they didn't have a home for, 24 motos. Like, even Supercross, if you think back, Michael, they had to be on a hodgepodge of different NBC Universal networks. It was on the Business Channel one night. It was on USA one night. It was on NBC proper a couple times. One race wasn't on TV at all. And they made it through. Well, those weren't even options for us in the summer because there's so many other things to compete against. If we had stayed with NBC and Peacock, we would not have had a linear television network that would carry us live, except for a few races like they're doing now, covering the first moto, the 450 moto at Thunder Valley, Redbud, second moto, and then this week at Southwick, of course. So all of that meant we had to go hunt for another deal. Over the years, we've gotten very involved with MAVTV. MAVTV is owned by Lucas Oil. They have a company called Lucas Oil Studios, and they've been building this channel for a long time. They ran our first motos for years for us because, it was almost impossible to find a network that was going to show 4 hours of live continuous racing on a Saturday afternoon. And they even though it was complicated for some people to switch that channel, I did get a lot of complaints about that, but I thought it was better than nothing. And when we told them what our dilemma was with the fact that NBC Sports was going away, and with it Peacock, as far as an option for 2022 goes, they said, hey, we've got MAVTV Plus. We've been working on it. It's going to be really good. And you can have all 4 motos for all but 3 races live on MAVTV. And we can also do all the motos live on MAVTV Plus. We had grown very comfortable and confident with them. And in the end, well, the results spoke for themselves. MAVTV Plus was not ready for the traffic that they got hit with. They weren't ready for the international traffic, I'm sure. And, we had this wonderful bonus at the last minute of both Ryan Dungey and Antonio Caroli coming. And no matter what MAVTV expected, and by the way, we never did get the streaming numbers from Peacock because that stayed internal for NBC. MAVTV Plus was not ready for the load that came their way. So after 1 week, the Fox Raceway opener at Pala, it failed miserably. Man, they rolled up their sleeves. They put everyone on triple overtime. They did everything they could in that next week to be ready for Hangtown. Lo and behold, it didn't work again. And at that point, people at MAVTV Plus, longtime employees of Lucas Oil Studios and close friends, I understand, with Morgan Lucas and his family, they lost their jobs. People were fired, and we were in real damage control. Not only the series, but MAVTV Plus. They continued to try to find a fix, and it was sometime between Thunder Valley and High Point Raceway that they realized, and they had a very deep inner conversation with themselves and the come to Jesus meeting, I guess you'd call it. And they realized that they were not going to get this fixed anytime soon. They knew the damage was being done to the series. They knew the damage was being done to Lucas Oil. And MAVTV was, taking on the chin as well. They decided with our blessing that the best thing to do was literally join forces with Flow Sports, which has the FloRacing channel, a very experienced platform, not a TV company like MAVTV is, but just a streaming platform. And they decided that they would have the MAVTV on FloRacing channel and move everything over there. FloRacing decided to honor the price point that MAVTV wanted, which MAVTV Plus, was charging, which was $6.99 a month. MAVTV Plus is going to refund and prorate all of the annual subscriptions. And beginning this weekend, it'll be MAVTV on FloRacing that streams all the races. And I'm sorry that it came to this. I apologize to everyone that has come to count on me. And I got to tell you, I don't have a lot of experience with underperforming in anything. My dad taught me and my sister and our whole family to over-deliver on everything you do, whether it's Loretta Lynn's, GNCC, Racer X Magazine, Pro Motocross. We have tried to always go the extra effort to make things right. And this one was truly out of my realm. I didn't have a great understanding of what challenges MAVTV Plus would have or how difficult it would be to fix. But and I'll quote Motocross Action here, rather than continue beating a dead horse, we decided to switch horses. And we did that with the cooperation of MAVTV and Lucas Oil Studios. And as mad as everyone was or is at them, they have been working for weeks to get this sorted. And I think it was a big step of them to literally pull the plug on MAVTV Plus. It will be gone completely by the end of the month. And they're getting out of the streaming business completely. They will continue to be MAVTV, They've been a fantastic partner. And I mean, I think the races have looked fantastic. The production, with the addition of the drone and the way they've been shooting the races this year, I think they're doing a great job. It was just not knowing how MAVTV Plus as a streaming service or an app would work, and in the end coming up short. They're deeply sorry, but no one's as sorry as I am. But we had to pick ourselves up and move forward. So that's it in a nutshell. That's the background and how we got here.
So Beck and I'll do basically based on that run through. So my first question would be, again, just to clarify for people that may have not understood what you said earlier with the NBC sports side. So Supercross continued on it this year. It was a lot of channel jumping, which was upsetting to a good amount of audience. It is difficult for some fans to track it across multiple channels. For outdoors, there was no option whatsoever of continuing an NBC and Peacock relationship. There was no chance on the table that could be done.
They would have had us on Tuesday nights, to be honest with you. There was conversation. NBC likes the property, but NBC on a Saturday afternoon does not have a place for pro motocross when they have NASCAR, when they have hockey, they have all the things that we're up against. To us, a lot of people are going the streaming route completely. A lot of people are cutting the cord, but the people in the industry that run most of these companies are older than you and me, and they are still attached to televisions and they want linear TV. That will certainly change in the future. Just as, one day we might all be, driving electric cars. We might all be riding electric bikes. There will be an evolution, but we were not prepared to go from being live all 48 motos just last year, or mostly live, to literally being delayed by 2 days. It would have been even more of a step backwards than what we ended up doing, which was spending this 1 year with MAVTV. We will take another swing at the pinata for 2023 and beyond, and I'm very confident that we'll have a much better and consistent programming than what we've had not only last year, but what we have right now.
So speaking of streaming only, because again, I know some people that are, of course, in the area that they have going to have high-speed network that have been fans of streaming apps, even your content production, such as like Netflix and Hulu. There are people that are becoming very used to that. So their natural response to what's going on right now is, why aren't we just on YouTube? Why aren't we just on this? Why are we worried about TV? Now, like we said, the motorcycle industry, the demographic in general is a bit older. So there is that has to be evaluated. But on top of that, you mentioned companies are involved. I think of OEMs, certain gear branches, anybody that, the sport really is run on its own money per se. Yes, we do have some outside sponsorship, but the industry invests in itself very much so. So in your guys' case, with what it costs to run the series, having brands involved and things like that, from a financial state, I take it based on what you said, that going streaming only, at this time, it is not feasible with the brands that are involved in the sport. Like I said, there's too much push to still, hey, we need to be on TV for a little while longer. I'm guessing if you went streaming only, it would be quite a hassle between a lot of these brands that have been involved in the sport for a long time.
It would be, well, it sounds futuristic. The guys at American Honda, the guys at Yamaha Motor Corporation, the guys at Kawasaki, the guys at KTM, the guys at Monster Energy, they all want a big audience, and to go all streaming at this point is not conducive to having a big audience. There's a reason every other major sport is still, with the exception of maybe UFC. I don't really follow it that closely, but they're all, straddling this place where you're part on streaming, part on linear TV, to just completely go all online and say, hey, we're going to put it on Amazon, or we're going to put it on Hulu or whatever. We're not there yet. I don't think we're there as a society yet. It might work for Netflix, but it doesn't work for Unadilla. And until we get there, we're going to have to be, continually challenged in trying to find a home that works for the vast majority of fans, but also the people that, fund racing. And right now, I can tell you, because the Zoom calls on before this was with all the OEMs, actually. I'm one of the younger people in that room.
Like I said, I know at the end of the day, viewers will be maybe upset to hear that, because there are people that wonder, why do the OEMs, why do these certain people have the say or power they do? But at the end of the day, what we could endlessly talk about is all the racers out there, all these major teams are funded by them. That is where a lot of the funding from our sport comes from. And at the end of the day, it is a marketing situation where they spend their money in a way they see fit, but they're expecting a certain ROI for what they're spending their money on.
So how do we get a group of network television trucks in there, like the Cabin Creek rigs that you see come in all the time? I can't afford that on a revenue that we make streaming, because it was literally non-existent for us, whenever we were with NBC, because that was their part of the deal. Then they went away, and suddenly we were trying to put all of this together. It's been an uphill education, put it that way. And like I said, I did, and my sister did, and the series in general did what we thought was the best deal we could do for this year with a reliant partner. And like I said, I'm embarrassed and bummed, because I knew that we were going to have a beautiful series. I knew the attention that Antonio and Ryan Dungey were going to bring. I know what Jet and Hunter Lawrence mean. I know what having Eli out there means to the world. The tracks have been amazing. The track prep has been really good across the board. I congratulate all the promoters on that. The TV production that MAVTV has been doing has been great. The crowds, I think we're every crowd so far this year, 5 in a row, they've all been up, if not records. And the cool thing is, I'll admit, good weather will make a hero out of any promoter. And we've been, knock on wood, really lucky to have good weather. Great racing, everything was going humming except this one thing. And so it's amazing how if you have a big project like this with all these irons in the fire of things you got to deal with, and we drop the ball collectively on this one thing, and man, it stings. It's hard to open up my social media and have someone say that my dad built a lot of things, but I am single-handedly ruining them because the live stream didn't work, and wherever that person is. And I'll be honest, Michael, I took a break from Vital, which I've been on since day one, because the negativity that I was getting, I couldn't, I couldn't not fight back. And I was best served by paying attention to fixing the problem instead of trying to explain it and suffer all those little digs and insults and stuff. I deserve them. I'm a big boy. I understand the responsibility that comes with having the job that I've worked my way up into over the years. But I can't really explain something that I don't fully understand myself. And I was never, like I said, a streaming guy. This was always taken care of for us through NBC. And when that option went away, we, put our faith in an untested app, and that was a mistake. And like I said, some people paid with their jobs for that mistake at Lucas Oil and MAVTV and of course, MAVTV Plus. But I couldn't quit working because everyone was, well, because a bunch of people that expected what they paid for didn't get what they paid for. I had to figure out a way to fix it. And this is the best fix I could come up with midstream.
Mm-hmm. We'll have one last streaming question for you, because like I said, I just kind of want to cover all the basis for questions people have, people that maybe don't understand streaming services or options that are in the market for you guys. So like I said, of course, it's really easy for some people to say, why don't we just default to a Peacock or something like that? When it's tied to a TV network, that's contracts, you guys don't get paid for that. It's kind of impossible to be like, hey, we're going to be MAVTV for TV network and Peacock for that. And it doesn't work like that with NBC. One of them that got brought up is, I think, as a sort of a fail, I don't know what to call it, a fail safe or a backup. You guys were running some streaming portions on YouTube. Me personally, that is probably the biggest portion of my personal job right now at Vital is a lot of it is video content. So I'm constantly looking at analytics, how we can improve our CPM, what we get paid and everything, trying to create a revenue source basically for my company. So I'm fairly aware of what YouTube pays you and different things of that nature. Just based off that, like I know a lot of people are like, oh, just buck the trend, go for that. As far as I'm aware, the amount, again, of what it takes to have all the production trucks and everything, I know what YouTube pays. I don't think it's as high as people think it actually is. And then there's other restrictions, like you guys being able to run your own commercials, which, yes, there's general commercials that Mav run, but there's stuff that's tied to the series, whether it's a, let's just say Lucas Oil, Western Power Sports, Monster, different ones that have commercials tied in it. There's a lot of restrictions where you can't control those items, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And we hit the panic button when we went to YouTube whenever the whole thing crashed at the first round and second round. And, our philosophy on that was we can't have a race and have told all these people around the world that they could watch it online and then not have it online somewhere. We will ask for forgiveness later, but let's do what we can to get it out in front of people. But you talked about, putting stuff on YouTube. Your production is honestly you with a computer or a phone doing interviews or Dark Side. Yep. Congratulations, Dark Side, on getting the gig. Jamie. I'm very happy for him. He's been after an industry job for a long time. Yep. Think about what it would take, what it takes us to wire a track a mile, long, put all the, fiber optic cable all around it, have all those cameramen come in, you have to pay them union wages, have all those TV trucks, directors, producers, editors, TV talent. Man, there is no world or no place on YouTube that is going to give you enough revenue to pay for all that. It's just not there. I know phones are getting better, cameras are getting better, microphones are getting better, but the idea of putting a major sporting event only on YouTube and not having any commercials, we're not there. It might be a good way to augment the daily content that a Vital MX or a Racer X or a Swap Moto builds and posts, but it's not the way to run a series of 12 races all around the country. The costs are so prohibitive to move something like this around 12 times. And it's not like a stadium where you can just plug in, you know where the fixed camera spots are. We have to build from scratch each week that we go to a different track. And it's not easy and it's not cheap. So while I wish we could show it on YouTube, and we certainly have the American Motocross channel for after the race to put stuff up, doing a live event, we're not there yet for a sport of this magnitude.
How many people does it actually take for just purely the production side, the TV trucks, the camera guys, everybody that wires and runs everything? How many people are on the ground roughly at an action?
You have 3 semis that are there. Between the directors, the editors, the people who, work with the satellites, work with the clipping service, the people who work with the cameramen, the people who do the people write the captions, the people who do the live timing and scoring. I would say a minimum of 75, and that's dedicated entirely to the TV truck. That's not the guards that have to guard the compound. That's not the people back at the network that have to, man the switches, so to speak. So when Bondo and Jeff Manhart and Scotty McLemore roll into an event with those trucks, they bring 75 people with them.
Mm-hmm. And then kind of moving into the MAV relationship. So again, it's something you covered, but for people that don't maybe fully grasp it, is even for the time we were on NBC Sports Network, part of this relationship has always been Lucas Oil Studios and Productions. It's whether it's directly their stuff or stuff they're contracting, all this TV production, pretty much all that stuff has to do with them. That it wasn't NBC that had met and on the ground filming this stuff. This was all Lucas Oil Productions, Lucas Oil Studios people. So basically before, I don't mean a situation where NBC was just literally they were taking what was provided to them by this group to air. Their involvement in the actual production and everything that was boots on the ground was very minimal. It's always been this same crew.
Yeah, and the same goes for Supercross. And that's one of the things that I don't think folks understand. I know that Infront, or what used to be Youthstream, they bring their own crew of TV people, and they rent one of those trucks. But it's the same people every week. In America, both Supercross and Motocross use a group of people. They're led by, like I said, Chris Bond, Jeff Manhart, and they are sort of subcontractors to whatever series or network is there. So the same people who made the NBC race on Saturday at Redbud are the same people who did the MAVTV stuff, and are the same people who did the MAVTV Plus streaming stuff. It's not, NBC didn't bring their director in. They use a director who knows motocross better than anyone. And since 2009, and before that, I think Bondo was involved in some way, shape, or form. But back then, it wasn't live. Back then, we would do what was called live to tape. So you would have a Chet Burks, or before that, a Lou Seals person who would gather a group of cameramen. They'd film everything. They'd take it back to Atlanta, or in this case, Marietta, Georgia, and put together a show, and then have David Bailey, myself, Art Ekman come into the studio and not even be at the race. I was there as the pit reporter, but David Bailey and Art Ekman would do post-production. It was called live to tape. And until we got to the, having live TV, which began in 2009 at every round, that's the way it was done. So Bondo and Jeff Manhart and these guys, they've built a place for them in the motorsports industry as the go-to guys for Supercross and Motocross. So, people, I don't think understand that and can't get their heads wrapped around it, but the same people who film Supercross are the same people who film motocross. And what they'll also do is they will try to get local cameramen. One weekend, the guy might be filming the Pittsburgh Pirates in my area. The next weekend, it might be a WVU football game. And then when High Point comes to town, they might be filming the High Point National. It's not the same guys that go to every race that man the cameras, but it is the same guys that man the trucks. And that has always been Lucas Oil Studios that manage TV, and they reach out and work with Bondo, Manhart, etc. So the tie-in with Lucas Oil started as just a title sponsorship, but it evolved as MAVTV evolved. And both are owned by Forrest Lucas and are now being run by Morgan Lucas, his son. And they're based right out of Indianapolis. But Lucas Oil Studios is in Corona, California, right across the railroad tracks, in fact, from Troy Lee's building.
Yep.
And that's why Lucas Oil was a longtime sponsor of Troy Lee's team.
Mm-hmm. So for you guys
speaking of Troy Lee's team, I would love it if Justin Barsha rode a 250 gas at the Motocross of Nations. So that answers one of those vital questions suggestions.
Yeah, somebody asked me if your say on it.
I'll take Jason Anderson too, because right now I don't see with Justin Cooper being hurt, I don't really see us having a really elite 250 guy that is an American citizen, and we might need someone to drop down.
I'm for Barsha because personally I'm a big fan of the programs under the same tent. The information travels better where not to say they couldn't do it. Anderson, I'm sure there would be a split with Cowie where it'd be like, okay, are we using a PC motor and we're doing the chassis and suspension development? Are we just jumping on a full PC bike? I feel like there's a little bit more of a jumble there for a week or two that would be needed to figure out Jason's situation, where I feel like Barsha, I mean, they've got so much surplus of equipment left over from the last gen KTM. If they wanted to, they could have Barsha on a complete 250 testing next week without much of an issue. So I'm definitely a big fan of the Bam Bam equation based off simplicity and information sharing and what they have to be available to him.
And the other question, not to delve into bench racing, I hope that the Redbud we saw on Saturday is the Redbud we see in September. And we don't have that whatever happened in 2018 where it just seemed different. Okay, back to the series.
So for you guys, like I said, the risk coming into this year was, okay, we don't have NBC as a partner for this year. MAVTV is the option, which you guys had already been doing. The only portion of this new experience you guys were going into that was new and unknown was the streaming service, because you guys had already been airing on MAVTV for the first motos. This was now just including the second motos. It's the same production crew. It's the same trucks. It's the same people producing it, same people cutting it, splicing, getting everything ready. It's just the app service. So again, you covered it at the beginning, but we're going to reiterate it, is people asked, how would they not know what the load was going to be? So as you said before, NBC, that streaming number was guarded. There was no ability to give MAVTV that heads up.
That was proprietary information at that point, and it was an arm wrestling match for the 3 years that NBC Sports Gold and then Peacock had it, because that in the deal we did all the way back in 2010, we didn't really foresee that they would come out with their own streaming app, and it would work like that. It wasn't part of the equation, and even when they left, they were very coy with telling us that information. That said, the reason MAVTV Plus failed wasn't just because of the load of traffic. There were other things that were not quite ready for prime time, and they didn't realize that. I think the first failure was a denial of services attack,
DDoS,
and all that. But the failures that would follow, they had to rebuild. They were admittedly 4 to 6 weeks away from getting a really functioning thing, and they were starting from scratch because they cleaned house with that team. It was new to us. It was new to them, and at that size of an event, and the outrage, and deservedly so, was also new to them, and new to me. Like I said, I'm not used to being the guy in the barrel, but deservedly so. It was, this is on my watch, and I take responsibility for it, and I'm going to not stop trying to make this better. I guarantee you it'll be much better next year. But the sacrifices and the mistakes and the education, it's all been well earned and deservedly so, and that's why we're so very sorry that this wonderful season, I would put this 2022 series up against any Pro Motocross series that we've had in 50 years, for the way it looks, the success of the events, the competition, everything. except the damn streaming service and that MAVTV Plus app.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we failed, and in doing so, we failed the audience.
Another part I may understand is part of what they may have experienced is, I believe under Peacock or even NBC Gold before that, there were certain territory lockouts. Like in certain countries, you couldn't watch it. I believe MAVTV Plus, you could watch it anywhere, I believe. So.
Yeah, and that was another thing, and I didn't even think about this earlier. We had a problem last year where two of our most high-profile athletes in Jet and Hunter Lawrence, you couldn't watch the races in Australia. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't watch them in Japan either. And we would go to NBC and say, why is this geo blocked? Well, there was a big problem in Australia between Sky Network, NBC, and all this stuff. And they couldn't get a deal until literally the series was over. And Jet Lawrence is our national champion. Mm-hmm. I had to, talking to poor Anthony Gobert, mm-hmm. Or Alex, sorry. In Australia, every week he'd send me an email and say, why can't we see this in Australia? Why can't we see this? And I'm like, I am sorry. It is geo blocked. And so when NBC went away, and another thing was NBC didn't want us to ever use drones. Mm-hmm. The drone that we're using this year, the legal one, thank you. We weren't allowed to do that for years because that was against NBC's policies. And so was, like I said, they had certain countries that were geo blocked. With MAVTV Plus, it is not geo-blocked anywhere. If you can get online in a country, unless you're in Russia or something, you can watch MAVTV Plus. It's still going to be there, MAVTV Plus. And if you have any problem with FloRacing or watching it online, there's going to be a big picture and a big help button there on Saturday. Click that link. It says, if you need help, click that link. And they say that will solve any problem that hopefully comes up on Saturday, and hopefully no problem comes up. But the transition is not going to be seamless. I just hope it's as easy as possible.
For the 3 rounds this year, they're being hosted on NBC, and those 3 rounds, Quincy, are on Peacock because they are tied to NBC. I'm sure we've had people see that and go, well, we got 3 there. Again, why? Is it similar to what we talked about earlier? If those are 3 availabilities on NBC for you guys to choose to do 3 rounds that way, is it purely down to just trying to get the audience that is available on a mainstream network, or what was the decision making there?
We always, when we were with NBC, they always gave us 3-hour-long shows for the series. This year, knowing that MAVTV is nowhere near as big as NBC, we decided to do 3 time buys of NBC so that we would be able to justify, to the teams and everything. They want that network TV thing, even if it is for just 3 races. The Peacock comes with NBC, and Peacock goes with NBC when NBC goes away. Had we been able to, negotiate for it to also be on MAVTV Plus, we would have, but they are very territorial. If a network, and the same goes with YouTube, if a network is showing you, even if it's a time buy, they expect to have the streaming rights as well as to lock it out of YouTube, because they don't want to compete against themselves. Yep. It's NBC's goal to have as many people watching NBC platforms as possible when they have motocross on the channel. And the same goes for Supercross. CNBC, USA, NBC, those are all obviously NBC, related or in the NBC family. MAVTV is not.
Yeah. For when you say time buys, does that mean you guys actually had to purchase those 3 spots?
Yes. We had to purchase those 3 hours, and they are not cheap.
Mm-hmm. So once this all went away, you guys had to sit down with MAV. This ended up being your option. What with the past experience you have, is that what was the main reason, I guess, for going with them full time? Was it just, hey, it's basically the only thing we're dealing with is just the new streaming service? Was there, because again, I just know people ask, a Fox
No,
network, all these
could,
things, like they're just that was at the time the best option, I take it.
it's 2022.
Mm-hmm.
We've been with Lucas Oil and MAVTV 4 years.
Yep.
We were using the same trucks. We were using the same tracks. The one thing that was new was MAVTV Plus. We didn't have a lot of other options. When you go with MAVTV, they're like, we have MAVTV Plus now. We want to use that. We thought it would work. They thought it worked. Hindsight is 2020. It did not work. I didn't know that on May 27th. But when I found out, we all collectively went into a huge fire drill to try and fix what was, we're in the water now. We got to cross to the other side. We can't just stop. And that's, I wish I could explain it any better than that, but NBC Sports Network is gone. NBC is no longer a commercial partner with Lucas Oil Pro Motocross or MX Sports Pro Racing. They want to still do racing when they can. They are hopeful to have a different look and feel next year. We'll see. But right now, for 2022, this was the option that we had. It's a 1-year deal, which means there are 7 races left. And we are going to do all we can with MAVTV, and now with MAVTV on FloRacing, and of course with Lucas Oil and Lucas Oil Studios, to do the best we can to, give the riders, the race teams, the promoters, and most of all the fans what they deserve. And that is a chance to see these races however they want to see them, whether it's on TV or whether it's on a device or whether it's streaming.
How did the Flow relationship come about? And just to reiterate to people so they understand, is
that was 100% MAVTV. They came up with the Flow option again, they got egg on their face. This is deeply embarrassing to them that MAVTV Plus did not work out, but they moved everything to FloRacing.
Not just moto, it's sprint car, everything they do.
Everything. MAVTV Plus is about to be on the ash heap of history, and I saw this on Vital along with Cannondale and the 2002 Competition Park Motocross of Nations. And rightfully so, but it wasn't for a lack of trying by the people at MAVTV and MAVTV Plus. It was a lack of execution with MAVTV Plus.
Did you guys know after the first round that the situation was so dire that was this already on the table as an option after round 1, or was everybody confident it would be fixed by round 2?
There had been talks, as I understand it, and this is, there had been talks between MAVTV and FloRacing about, moving assets and series and stuff over there. And I had been approached by FloRacing, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't really know what it was. Austin White got a hold of me last year. Austin's from Phoenix, and I think he was doing some work with them, and he suggested it. And it, we had NBC, we had Peacock, and moving forward, we were going to have MAVTV and MAVTV Plus. So it was MAVTV Plus. Well, let me back up. So after Pala, or Fox Raceway at Pala, Monday was Memorial Day. We had an emergency meeting at 11 a.m. And when I turned on my Zoom, Morgan Lucas was staring at me. He had called his entire team into the Lucas Oil Studios or MAVTV Studios in Indianapolis. They were like, okay, we gotta find out what happened. They were doing, that autopsy on just the complete meltdown that was the streaming of that event, which of course ended up on YouTube. He apologized profusely. He was deeply embarrassed and promised that he would do everything he could to get it fixed. Fast forward to Hangtown. As I understand it, because again, I'm like you, I'm at the races.
Yeah.
I understand it was going mostly well until halfway through the second 450 moto, right when, Cairoli, Anderson, everyone's battling, and boom, they lose it. Morgan Lucas is on my Zoom call again the following Monday, which was not a holiday, but at that point, people started losing their jobs. And they really rolled up their sleeves, got under the hood, so to speak, and did all they could. They brought more people over from the actual MAVTV side of things, and they collectively realized that the fix they needed, or the education they needed, wasn't going to happen within the next 4 to 6 weeks. And that's when they started thinking, maybe we need to find another platform. And it did not happen overnight. They had to work out some things with FloRacing, make sure that FloRacing was going to do things like honor that $6.99 subscription price and not the $29.99 that I think they normally charge, which we're very thankful for. FloRacing threw us a lifeline. They threw MAVTV Plus a lifeline, and we had to grab it because, again, we're in the middle of this stream, which pardon the pun, it's more like an ocean right now. But we had to do what we could do, and this was the best fix given the amount of time we have, the amount of races we have left, and the amount of damage that's already been done.
For the flow situation to be the price it was, did Lucas Oil or Mav, in simple terms, have to eat any of that? Was it an agreement they came to that, they were okay with that price, or in their apology way, was that part of what they were trying to do? Is did they have to eat any of that?
I am almost certain they had to eat a lot of that. I also know that they're prorating refunds for the annual subscriptions. MAVTV is not going away. MAVTV did not get bought up by FloRacing. MAVTV will continue as a television network and a television production company. The streaming thing, they're going to leave to the streaming experts. You know as well as I do how difficult new media can be. And it's not as easy. It's like, oh, if you know TV, then you know streaming. No, I guarantee you my 14-year-old daughter knows more about how streaming works and social media and all that than I do. It's just a generational thing. Yes, I think that this has come at great cost to MAV TV, but Morgan Lucas and his family were adamant that this is where the damage has to stop. This is where the make goods have to start, and this is where we've got to be able to show the people what the series is all about, what the sport is all about, and do it in a way that doesn't cost them, what it started out as. It's been a lesson in damage control, I think, for a lot of people. I think we're still in the process of trying to fix it, and it will continue. The people that wanted me to
technical difficulty. My phone got too hot to decide it was going to be a cell phone any longer. When your iPhones give you the little temperature warning. So Wi-Fi went out and we are back. So we were just talking about again, kind of that relationship. I believe we were talking about just Morgan Lucas and Lucas family a little bit right there.
Yeah, they've been wonderful supporters of motocross at every level. They support racing at every level. They're fully invested in not only Lucas Oil products, but also racing all over the country, and they've been wonderful partners. It's just the MAV TV Plus thing was a boondoggle for everyone, and I know that Morgan is deeply sorry and embarrassed that it didn't work out, but also committed to fixing this so that people can watch these races, watch these athletes, watch these wonderful events that we're having. And that begins, on Saturday with Southwick.
I think one of the last things we will touch on is, as you said, this was a 1-year contract. It wasn't that this was, I'm sure everybody went into this with the best of intentions to see if it would possibly be something that would work in the future. But again, MAVTV is a smaller network. It is growing, but it is not on the size of your NBCs, your Fox, your CBSs. I know the sport has certain goals. It was a year to get by. So do you personally foresee beyond this year, is not to say Flow won't be beyond this year, but there are definitely options and situations you guys are looking towards in the future?
Well, I think that any sports entity that's not an actual network has a constant challenge to find a home. I know that MAVTV, no matter what, really wants to increase motocross and GNCC and amateur motocross related programming, not just live events, but sort of, that's like Steve Mathis' show is on MAVTV now. I didn't even see that coming, but they really like finding different ways to cover different forms of racing. So I think they're always going to be there. But Lucas Oil has no intention of doing anything but continue as the title sponsor of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. They've dumped millions into the sport through their sponsorship, through their TV production, through all the stuff they've done. But yeah, there's always an option for something different. This is a one. Is their deal is up as well with NBC. So who knows where this could go? We may end up at the same home again. It'll be interesting to see, and who knows? I don't know the answer to that. Quite honestly, my sister deals more with the business side, the contractual side. I do more of the marketing for Pro Motocross, and I'm sure together we'll have a lot of meetings about this. She's in California right now at the MIC, actually working on a project that I think we'll all be hearing about shortly. But in the meantime, yeah, it's a 1-year deal, and we've got 7 races to go, and we're going to do the best we can to, stop the damage and give people what they signed up for.
So just as a broad overview, kind of see the bullet points of, we went, MAVTV was our existing partner. Lucas Oil Productions, Lucas Oil Studios was an existing partner that has helped the series basically go on the entire time of the NBC contract time. Because of NBC going away, there was no possibility of Peacock or continuing that relationship in the state it was without us giving up a massive amount of TV time. Mostly, like we said, maybe a live race here or two, but mostly watching races on a heavily taped delay. So the option was to go with a trusted partner who has proven before that they can get the job done on the TV production side. It's also a brand that has dumped millions into the sport, so there was a lot of positive feels there. On top of that, some things people may not realize is another positive for you guys moving into this. I know it from our end on the media is a lot less restrictions on what we're allowed to film and publish, the riders as well. So there were good reasons to do this. It wasn't, some people want to say the most negative far side of people want to go with, was it a cash grab or was it really the best option? It does sound like options were somewhat limited with NBC going out. There was a lot of reasons that this was checking the boxes, but ultimately the streaming failure was something that has derailed the whole situation. It was the item that was possibly the most unknown coming into it, but in your guys' case, it seems like nobody expected it to go the way it was.
But let me, and I think all of that's accurate. But it didn't derail the whole situation. It derailed that situation. I think the story of the 2022 Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship, it's been fantastic. Everything is humming right now. The crowds are up. The tracks are great. The racing's great. We're reaching a new audience. We're coming out of COVID, with a whole shot. It feels like we have record number of riders. We have too many riders. When you have to turn away 20 guys, at Redbud because you can only fit 90 into the program per class. It's a much different feel than a lot of the other series in the world right now, where it's a different model, it's a different deal, and traveling is much more cost prohibitive internationally than it is domestically. And to your point about the restrictions, people thought that we were trying to do a power grab when we said no more GoPros. No, we said no more GoPros because that's an FIM rule. You're not allowed to have devices mounted on your helmet. But we actually have opened it up for the athletes and people like Chase Sexton and Alex Martin and Jeff Walker and just anyone who wants to do Garrett Marchbanks. They want to do their own content, their own stuff for YouTube and social media. We couldn't do that with NBC like we could do with MAVTV. We want the riders to be able to tell their story. We know that the platform that we build with our motocross tracks, it's only there and relevant for one day, and that's Saturday. That's race day. But all the content that's generated by the riders, that can help all week long. All the content that you have, that you're doing with Vital MX, that Don and Antonovich are doing with Swap Moto, that Moseman's doing with MXA, all of that is incredibly helpful to the growth of motocross and supercross. And that's been, one of the better things that come out of this. But it is, you're right, all derailed a little bit about the failure of the streaming service and the apps. And on the eve of Southwick, I can't believe that I'm having to explain this, but it needs explained. It's been an absolute mess. And a lot of people are doing the best they can to fix it. That's what the fans deserve. That's what everyone who races deserves. That's what everyone who comes to the races deserves. And it's not been easy, and it's not been cheap. We just found ourselves in a rare failure, and we don't have a lot of those at MX Sports Pro Racing or in the events that we do. Racer TV, we stream GNCCs and Loretta Lynn's live all the time without any problems. But the production value is so much different than what you have with an actual network television production, and the costs are different, and there's no paywall or anything like that. All those things were new to us. They weren't new to the people at MAVTV Plus, but they were, that product was not ready for prime time, and they realized that, and they pulled the plug on that. And I commend them for that. But yeah, like I said before, hindsight is 20/20, and we see it all a lot differently now, and it'll look different when we finish the series in September for sure. But right now, the best we can do is try and move forward, try to get it right, and continue to apologize for what has been a very unfortunate development. And I wish it wasn't so bad, but it got bad, and that's on me.
Well, appreciate your time, sir. I think it's been about an hour and a half. I know you guys gave us the individual time. I believe this weekend you were planning sort of a presser, so there may be more questions. Other media outlets will have their take on this to chat with you about. But I know you guys, a lot of people again have brought up why it hasn't been publicly addressed at this point, and I think a lot of people may misunderstand the amount of time. I know it from moderating the forum and how much time it can take out of your day just to comment to stuff. At the time, your official response would be your main focus was fixing the problem, not just trying to comment on it.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a high regard for Vital. I think that the role that you play and that Guy B played before you, and that all of the people on the forum. I find it very constructive. I find it very helpful. You can pop in and take the temperature of folks or see what they're thinking. But like a lot of things in the last few years, it has, the tone has changed a little bit. It's become a little more, it's a little more about sound bites and hearing yourself type than it used to be. But I think that everything is like that, whether it's politics or sports
Instagram,
radio
Twitter, the whole thing.
everything seems to be a confrontation now. And I don't mean that about Vital, but just the interaction that people have. It's hard to debate without someone resorting to some kind of playground taunt or insult or whatever. And I'll get back in there. I really enjoy being DC Racer X, or just DC on Vital. But my time is better served trying to help these folks get this sorted. But I do realize that just as I get an outsized amount of credit for the success of this series, when it really is a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of my people that work in this building, people that work in every shop and race team, factory team, and other magazines, other forms of media, we're all in this together. But I also get an outsized amount of criticism whenever things go wrong. But it comes with the territory. I get that. And I probably should have addressed this a little sooner. But I honestly didn't have the right answer, which was a way forward. And the people at MAVTV and the people here at MX Sports, and we've all worked on a fix together, and it's not ideal, but it is a fix. And I hope that people get back to watching and enjoying the races, and I hope it's easier and more seamless. And we learned a lot of lessons in this. Again, I take full responsibility for the decisions that I made and that we made, and taking this route for 2022. It was the best route forward, and with the exception of the streaming, it was obviously a great route. But with the streaming, train wreck. I get that. So we'll do better. That's all we can do.
Appreciate your time. I hope with the move forward, of course, for the entire fan base, the more consistent presence of Flow should improve that. I'm sure people will get used to it. Hopefully they listen to this. I'm sure the other interviews you'll do, they'll read up on it and hopefully figure out why we're moving forward in the way we are. And for your personal sake, I hope the stress levels drop a little bit.
It has. And I appreciate you reaching out to me to do this. Like I said, no one at Racer X has reached out to me to do something like this.
Man, what is Weege doing?
No, but Weege is caught in this too. It reflects on him. It reflects on Ricky. It reflects on, that's another thing. Like I really love the different voices we've heard in the booth, but it gets lost in the debacle that was the streaming. So no, but like I said, I always get a fair shake. Always got a fair shake from Guy B. Always get a fair shake from you, Michael, and I'm glad to have an in-depth interview with you, and I hope that it brought some light to some folks that are listening and watching. But like I said, we ain't out of the woods yet, and we will do better. And I'll see you at the races.
See you there, sir.